What is up, my chaotic movie lovers? Welcome back to another episode of Popcorn and Chaos, show where I just deep dive into the beautiful chaos of film. Here we are, man. Episode 7. Crazy that I've done this many episodes. What have I been doing, you ask? Nobody asked, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Well, besides working on Popcorn and Chaos a lot, which, all right, side rant real quick, it has come to my attention that a lot of people are not fans of AI. And I get it. And I will admit that, yes, I use AI to create the thumbnails for my podcast episodes. I am a one-man creator on a small budget. So using AI to help me make my pictures, it works. I don't have the money to hire a graphic designer, or I don't have the time to do it myself. I try to put all my energy into the actual talking about movies, my podcast. So, yes, I do use AI to generate my thumbnails for my YouTube videos and for Spotify thumbnails. Yes, I do. If you do not like that and it makes you think that it's a horrible podcast because I use AI, well, I mean, two options. I think you could get over it and give the podcast a chance, or if not, you can kindly fuck off. I don't care. But other than that, podcast, I work full time as an equipment operator, been doing that for like 19 years. Um, I'm also a husband and a father of 3, and I've also been working on maintaining my sobriety. I am 7 months and counting with no alcohol, so I am pretty proud of myself for that. But in between all that, man, I have got to watch a lot of movies in the past 2 weeks since we last spoke. I've been binging the Star Wars movies in chronological order. I am on episode 8 right now, The Last Jedi. I have been on a big Daniel Day-Lewis kick lately. He is one of my top actors of all time, but I just want to do some rewatches. So, of course, what I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I watched Gangs of New York. I recently rewatched The Last of the Mohicans again. Man, that movie still holds up. Such a good film. And then I, for the first time, watched Lincoln from 2012, where DDL plays Abraham Lincoln, and wow, what a performance. And a stat cast. Very good movie. So, yeah, little bit of a DDL kick I've got going on. Last night, me and my wife finished Ready or Not 2. Yes, Radio Silence. I like Radio Silence. Pretty much all the stuff they've put out, I have personally loved. And then also, as I'm recording this today, I am going to see Toy Story 5. Yes, this will be the 5th Toy Story that I've seen in theaters. I've seen every one in theaters at the opening time since 1995. One of the first movies I ever saw in theaters, and continuing the tradition today, taking my family to see it. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to in a nutshell. All right, man, but all that aside, let's get into the episode today. Today, I am counting down my top 5 2000s horror movies. Yes, this was not an easy task. So remember, my list is not the best movies of 2000. It's not the best horror movies of 2000s, okay? My list is my list. It's my favorites. It's the ones that stuck with me through the times. So just be prepared that your favorite or what you thought was the best horror movie from 2000 to 2009 is not what I'm doing. I'm doing my favorite, the ones that stick with me, okay? So just want to clear that out there because I know there's going to be a lot of like, what the fuck, man? How the hell was this not on your list? And that's exactly what I want. If your favorite movie does not make my list, I want you to tell me in the comments. I want you to argue with me and say, hey, dude, why would you put this movie on before this movie? I can't believe you have that one on there, but not this one. I want those kind of comments. That's why I do this podcast. It's so we can generate discussions in the movie realm. I have my favorites, you have your favorites. Why is that? For me, a lot of the times it's because a movie sticks with you from the first time you've seen it. It's not just how good the movie was, it's how you felt when you watch it. It's how you see what the director or the creators are trying to say in a nutshell. What's like, oh, what do we got going on here? So, yeah, this list probably not gonna line up with a lot of people out there, but my favorites, the ones that stuck with me, narrowing down my top 5, wow. So, everybody's got their own opinions on horror films, and yeah, I'm probably gonna get some comments like, "That's not a true horror, that's a thriller." You know what? They say horror on IMDb, and I consider them horror, and this is my list, so here we go. But all right, man, I don't want to waste any more time just chatting. Let's get into it. My top 5 early 2000s horror movies. Now, the only rules, except for having to be between the years of 2000 to 2009, is no remakes. There's a lot of movies I wanted to put on the list, but they are remakes of older horror movies. I'm going to end up doing another popcorn pick list of my top remakes of that era and stuff. So, no remakes and 2000 2009 only rules. Let's do it. Top 5 early 2000s horror movies at number 5. Now, this is where I might lose people already. People are going to be like, that's one of your top 5. At least that's what I feel like. I feel like people might say that. Top 5 for me. Number 5, Wrong Turn from 2003, directed by Rob Schmidt. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Schmidt. I even had a teacher with that last name in elementary school. Schmidt? Is it Schmidt? That is the D silent? I don't know. Rob Schmidt, not really familiar with a lot of his other work, but he created Wrong Turn in 2003. The first time I saw this one was at my one of my high school girlfriend's houses. It was probably a year or so after it was released, ended up getting on DVD, and it was one of those date night things. So that came out, I was 15, probably 14 or 15 when I seen it. And the premise of a bunch of inbred psychos in the, what, I think it's the Appalachian Mountains, and brutal kills. You got brutal kills. By the way, I try to do my popcorn pick list since there's so many movies in it. I try to do those as spoiler free as I can. I mean, this is early 2000s, so these movies have been out for a long time. If you haven't seen them, that's kind of on you. So I'm going to keep it as spoiler free as I can. Wrong Turn, it is about a bunch of weird, crazy, like monkey like inbred psychos. And yeah, they track down people traveling through their area. They kill them with weird things, barbed wire and stuff. They like to collect jars of body parts. And so you got a group of kids just out on a vacation and have to survive all this. The cast is very stacked. Part of the reasons it could be my favorite is the fact that I was in love with Eliza Dushku from the time I was like 10 years old. So her starring in this definitely helps. So it does have a pretty good cast. I'm not going to get into everybody, but also it spawned a lot of sequels, which is very common in the horror field. But in my opinion, all those sequels were just straight cash grabs. They had a cool idea the first time, and they end up wanting to. All right, hey, we can make a part 2. Well, it did okay. We can make part 3. They were okay. I mean, they're always fun for the first watch, but they do not hold up like the first one. Definitely. So at number 5, I have Wrong Turn from 2003. At number 4, this one might be a lot of people's number ones. I don't know. It had such an original idea. This movie executed what they had in mind perfectly. At number 4, I have Saw from 2004, directed by the great James Wan. What else can I say about this movie? I mean, your star guy, Carrie Ellis. I mean, Princess Bride, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and he also just has his other pop up characters throughout all of my film history that I love. Um, the twist, of course, like I said, I'm going to keep them as spoiler free as possible. But if you're a horror fan listening to this podcast and haven't seen Saw, I don't know what to tell you. But so Saw, between the cast and but just between the original premise of a, I can't ruin it. It technically is a serial killer movie. I don't know if you can actually consider it a slasher. Um, but I'll just leave it at that. Saw, one of the greatest movies of the early 2000s, not just in horror, but just in general. So at number 4, I have Saw from 2004. At number 3, I know, doing my top 5. That's why it was so hard. I could have easily done my top 10, but I wanted to make it a little harder and be like, all right, I listed all of them, like who gets these top 5 spots. And I'm going to tell you, it took me weeks to come up with this list and a lot of back and forth and everything. But with that said, at number 3, might be a little controversy here. I have Jeepers Creepers from 2001. Yes, I know there's the allegations on how the creeper actually was a creeper and stuff. I don't look at a lot of stuff outside of the movie itself. I don't really follow actor news, movie news, or the big, oh, this is what's happening behind the scenes. Some of it is interesting, some of it's cool, some of it I like to look at the positive stuff and try to ignore all the negative reviews of Hollywood and stuff. And I know there's many, and I know there's certain things that you probably shouldn't even turn your back on. Sometimes I feel like we should fight against Hollywood and create a whole new Hollywood. I'm up for it. Any of you guys up for it? But Jeepers Creepers was still very well done. It was the first time I saw Justin Long, who ended up becoming one of my favorite actors. Um, the opening was great. Just the conversation. I love from that point on when I first watched it, and it was not in theaters. I was what? So I would have been 12, and I think I rented it finally because everybody was talking about it. And so I rented it, put it on, and just the opening scene of the car driving far away down the highway, and you can hear um, Justin Long and what's her name, Gina something. I don't remember. It's Gina something. And you hear their conversations getting more audible as they get closer, and boom, character development. You're getting to know brother and sister right from the beginning. They end up stumbling on some type of demon, the creeper, and the way they did the movie, Justin Long's performance, excellent. The end was great. If you haven't seen it, watch it. At number 3, Jeepers Creepers from 2001. Okay, so a lot of the times I do my honorable mentions before number 1. I am doing it before I get into the top 2 this time. The top 2 I was back and forth on over and over again, couldn't decide. So they're both very big for me, and I want to get into my honorable mentions right now. Like I said, I could have easily done my top 10, probably top 15, and it would have been still pretty hard, but I wanted to make it real hard and see who gets those top 5 spots. And like I said, it was back and forth. So I do have quite a few honorable mentions for my top horror movies of the 2000s. One that was very close to making the list. Uh, it's not very well known, I don't think, but if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It is called The Cell. It is from 2000, starring Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, and Vincent D'Onofrio. I saw it in theaters. It blew me away. It is one of my top horror movies of the early 2000s. It barely missed the list. So I've got The Cell from 2000. Also, of course, House of a Thousand Corpses from 2003. Rob Zombie's first, actual full-length horror movie on the map. Incredible, spawned an entire trilogy. Awesome stuff. Cabin Fever from 2002, Eli Roth also almost made the list. 28 Days Later from 2002. The Mist from 2007, the adaptation of Stephen King's novel. That was really good. Love The Mist from 2007. Also 30 Days of Night, very good vampire flick from 2007 starring Josh Hartnett. And another one I had to throw on, not because it is a good movie at all, but because of the nostalgia that's attached for me. It was the first horror movie that I got to go see with my friends in theaters without the adults, without none of the parents or like an older brother or something. It was just me and my crew. We got to go see Valentine in the year 2001. If you haven't seen it, it's about the guy in the Cupid mask that stalks all the girls that were mean to him in like junior high, high school because he was a nerd, and he goes around and kills and stalks all of them. It's not the best horror movie ever made by far, but it holds a special spot in my heart and always will. So those are my honorable mentions for my 2000s horror movies. All right, here we are, top two. And like I said, this was a back and forth for me. I could not decide which one to put it two and which one to put it one. I'll just break the ice right now. Let's get into it. Number two horror movie of the 2000s is The Descent from 2005. I know a lot of people are like, yes, it made the list right now because it is not only one of my favorites, I think it could be considered one of the best horror movies made in those years. Very, very claustrophobic. Those are the parts that scared me in the movie. It wasn't the finding out the crazy creatures that are down in the caves. If you haven't seen it, it's about a group of girls. One of them's really struggling with some stuff that's on in her life. They decide they're going to do a good big trip, and go have some fun and explore because they're all big explorers. They do rafting and all that. And they're going to go cave diving. They're going to go explore caves. Well, Juno, she's one of the main characters. She's got a cave in mind. Well, this is an uncharted cave. And they go down in there, end up getting trapped, but they're not the only ones down there. They're these crazy bat like humans that have adapted to the darkness, and they are down there with them. It's a crazy intense ride from beginning to end. The characters, the character development. Now, not a lot of well-known actors for me in this movie, but the director is very known for me. Neil Marshall directed this, and he does another one of my favorites, Doomsday. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's a post-apocalyptic Scottish movie. He also does this crazy werewolf movie called Dog Soldiers. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. Neil Marshall, he is an awesome director. This movie was amazing. If you're claustrophobic, be careful because that's where it got me. It wasn't the crazy creatures, it was the uh, crawling through openings this big with all this equipment and getting stuck and stuff. My anxiety just started ramping up, and that's the reason it became one of my favorite horror movies because it has almost all the elements of horror, not just jump scares, but it's got the suspense, the oh no, it's great movie. At number two, The Descent from 2005. Well, here we are. We are here at number one. Like I said, back and forth between The Descent and this one on which one was going to get the top spot, but this one had to take it. Too much nostalgia for me. At number one, I have Final Destination from 2000. Yes, it's one of my absolute favorites. Obviously my absolute favorite of all time from the year 2000 to 2009. There's no actual killer. You're running from death. It spawned so many sequels. They're still going. Some of them were good, some of them were eh. But oh, and then you get into the cast. Devin Sowat is one of my absolute favorites, from Idle Hands to SLC Punk. It's Devin Sowat. He's very talented. One of my favorite actors. I have a lot of those though. A lot. That would be a hard one. Narrowing down like my top 10. Whew. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that soon. Oh yeah, gonna have to. Final Destination. Bunch of kids going on their senior trip. One of them falls asleep, has a crazy premonition of the entire plane exploding, wakes up, things that happen in the dream start happening in real life. He freaks out, tries to get off the plane, ends up getting six of his high school classmates plus a teacher off of the plane, and then death stalks them one by one. Such an original premise. That's why I love the horror movie. This is why it's at number one. First time I saw it, my brother, I was young, it was probably right after it came out, so I'd have been like 11. My brother was in charge of me at the time. I don't know where my parents were, but he's like, "Hey, take your brother out, blah blah blah." He was going over to a bunch of friends' house to watch a movie, and they know I love horror. They're like, "Bring him along." We went over, we watched Final Destination, and it is one of the movies that is responsible for this podcast right now. I love it. It's just it Now, like I said, the controversy that I had between like The Descent, Final Destination, was The Descent maybe a better, more well done movie? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Final Destination came out at a time that was perfect for it. It wasn't ahead of a time. It wasn't after its time. It came out perfectly at the right time, the year 2000. Bunch of teenagers getting stalked by death instead, because you had the whole post Scream following. Once Scream came out and changed horror forever, you had a bunch of I Know What You Did Last Summer, an Urban Legend. You had a bunch of those little slashers coming in between. Final Destination kind of took it and was like, all right, well, what if the killer is death himself? And it became one of the greatest horror movies for me of all time, not even just in the 2000s, of all time. What's crazy is I read this, I think it was on IMDb. I don't know if it's true, but this movie was actually made from an unused X-Files script. If you remember the show X-Files, um, about the supernatural paranormal investigators. This was an unused script for that, and they turned it into. It's directed by James Wong, not to be confused with James Wan, Insidious, Saw, Conjuring. James Wan, God amongst horror films. James Wong did Final Destination. Um, One of his bigger ones. He doesn't have a lot of other work that I'm really familiar with or seen. But there it is. That number one is Final Destination from the year 2000. That is my top five early 2000s horror movies, man. That was a fun list to do. I was excited to do it, but then after it got into it, it was starting to get a little stressful. Like, which one do I put where? I had a big list and I had to narrow down top five, so I'm sure you get it. Thank you for joining me on my top five 2000 horror movies. So, little thing going on. Next episode is very special. I'm going to be having my first guest. Yeah, have somebody to talk to. Not that I don't enjoy talking to the camera and all my listeners, the few of you out there. I need more. Keep coming. Um, I'm going to have my first guest. It is my brother, my own flesh and blood, Apollo. And he is responsible for showing me like 50% of my favorite movies. So that's saying something. I'm really excited to have him on. We are going to be doing a chaotic breakdown of Airheads from 1994. One of the first movies he showed me that I remember. So it's going to be fun jumping in with him, doing a chaotic breakdown of it. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And hopefully after that, I'm going to start having some guests on a little more regularly. On the note of the chaotic breakdowns, I'm going to be doing those pretty much every week and then throwing like a popcorn pick list or a movie combat in between. I've been trying to alternate it, but I have so many movies that I want to just dive into, just specific movies, and give them their own episode, that I got to start breaking those down, man. I've got a lot I want to do, so I'm going to start doing chaotic breakdowns pretty much every episode, and then every 3 or 4, I'm going to throw in a movie combat or a popcorn pick list. So that's the update on that. And with that, since I'm going to be doing chaotic breakdowns most of the time, I am scrapping my whole movie of the week thing because the chaotic breakdown is going to be the movie of the week. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me, and that's what I'm doing. But other than that, thank you again for joining me on this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and all those things. I'm on not just YouTube, I'm over on Spotify. Follow me on Instagram at Popcorn and Chaos Pod. Other than that, man, I'm going to sign off here and start getting to work on the next episode. Yes, it's going to be 2 weeks. Airheads with my brother Apollo, 1994, Chaotic Breakdown. Until then, stay chaotic, my movie lovers, and I will see you next time.